happened, Banghurst had left a rook rifle he sometimes played with on the top of the desk, and on the corner of the mantel shelf was a tin with 3 or 4 cartridges remaining in it. As Filmer went up and down that room wrestling with his intolerable dilemma, he went first towards the neat little rifle athwart the blotting pad, and then towards the neat little red label, 22 long. The thing must have jumped into his mind in a moment. Nobody seems to have connected the report with him, though the gun being fired in a confined space must have sounded loud, and there were several people in the billiard room separated from him only by a lath and plaster partition. But directly Banghurst's butler opened the door and smelt the sour smell of the smoke, he knew, he says, what had happened. For the servants, at least, of Banghurst's household had guessed something of what was going on in Filmer's mind. All through that trying afternoon Banghurst behaved as he held a man should behave in the presence of hopeless disaster, and his guests for the most part succeeded in not insisting upon the fact, though to conceal their perception of it altogether was impossible, that Banghurst had been pretty elaborately and completely swindled by the deceased. The public in the enclosure, Hicks told me, dispersed like a party that has been ducking a welsher, and there wasn't a soul in the train to London, it seemed, who hadn't known all along that flying was a quite impossible thing for a man. But he might have tried it, said many, after carrying the thing so far. In the evening, when he was comparatively alone, Banghurst broke down and went on like a man of clay. I have been told he wept, which must have made an imposing scene, and he certainly said Filmer had ruined his life, and offered and sold the whole apparatus to MacAndrew for ½ crown. "I've been thinking," said MacAndrew at the conclusion of the bargain, and stopped. The next morning the name of Filmer was for the first time less conspicuous in the new paper than in any other daily paper in the world. The rest of the world's instructors, with varying emphasis according to their dignity and the degree of competition between themselves and the new paper, proclaimed the entire failure of the new flying machine, and suicide of the impostor. But in the district of North Surrey the reception of the news was tempered by a perception of unusual aerial phenomena. Overnight Wilkinson and MacAndrew had fallen into violent argument on the exact motives of their principal's rash act. "The man was certainly a poor cowardly body, but so far as his science went, he was no impostor," said MacAndrew. "And I'm prepared to give that proposition a very practical demonstration, Mr. Wilkinson, so soon as we've got the place a little more to ourselves, for I've no faith in all this publicity for experimental trials." And to that end, while all the world was reading of the certain failure of the new flying machine, MacAndrew was soaring and curvetting with great amplitude and dignity over the Epsom and Wimbledon divisions, and Banghurst, restored once more to hope and energy, and regardless of public security and the Board of Trade, was pursuing his gyrations and trying to attract his attention on a motor car and in his pajamas. He had caught sight of the ascent when pulling up the blind of his bedroom window, equipped, among other things, with a film camera that was subsequently discovered to be jammed. And Filmer was lying on the billiard table in the green pavilion with a sheet about his body. End of Filmer by H. G. Wells.